This is Dr. Senthil Kandeepan, Doc in short. Healthwatch founder, MD and CEO, and passionate wildlife lover, he has a particularly soft corner for Bandhavgarh.
Bandhavgarh is a beautiful place which I always love to be, for the forest itself and for tigers, of course. And I'm going here after 5 years, which I used to go every year, and I'm very excited to be there after so much of a gap.
Now, after a 5-year gap, I'm hosting Doc in Bandhavgarh. His goal? To see 10 tigers, 2 for each year he missed out. Joining me on this quest are 2 of the best men you could hope to work with. Naturalist driver and the man who's got the Midas knack of placing you at the right place at the right moment, Saleem Khan. And senior naturalist and expert tiger tracker with an easy intuition and an eye as keen as a hawk's, Kamta Yadav. Together, it's clear we'll have a lot of fun, share stories,
दर्रा की बच्ची है उसके भी बच्चे हो गए,
learn new things,
और गाइड के अगल बगल रहती,
and ring in the new year local style. But will we see 10 tigers? Although Indigo had commenced operations a few years before to Jabalpur, it was my first time flying an Airbus A320 into this airport. And after a very smooth landing but a rather bumpy ride down the hill from the airport through a squeaky clean village, our chauffeur Raj had a story to tell.
मैं नाइट पे कटनी से ड्रॉप करके लौट रहा था सर गेस्ट, तो 2 से 2:15 के बीच पे मगदी गेट के टर्निंग पे टाइगर अकेले बैठा हुआ था सर.
This is what most Bandhavgarh regulars love about the place. The talk about tigers begins even before you've reached the park. And this heady mix of flagship wildlife, focused people who care a lot for the subject, and the remote central Indian landscape teeming with character is what makes a visit to Bandhavgarh always so rewarding.
We are going from Jabalpur to Bandhavgarh, and we are on the way. Stop to have a bit of a lunch.
The next morning, Aranyak, the resort in which we stayed, still showing signs of Christmas celebrations, wore a deserted look because all the guests had left for safari while we still waited for our permit to come through. And as Doc, who was excited to use his brand new Nikon Z9 with his 400mm f2.8 lens for the first time on safari, headed for the restaurant for his pre-safari chai, this was a critical problem.
First day morning for safari, and it's an unusual day. In my 10 years of safari experience, today is the first day where I'm sitting without a permit, having a cup of tea now. And the rule number 1, before you plan any safari trips, make sure that your permits have been done well in advance, and so that you don't waste your mornings like this.
Bandhavgarh has 3 core tourism zones, Tala, Magdhi and Khitoli, but permits get sold out months in advance.
Okay, so finally we got into the vehicle, but still we don't know where we are going. So hopefully that we go not into the buffer zones and to some other core areas, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Turned out we had secured a permit for Khitoli after all. Saleem would have to ride as a passenger for this safari because his vehicle wasn't in the roster. Tracking tigers in Bandhavgarh is a game of taking stock of what the various tigers in the zone were up to on the previous day or earlier that day, then picking an area in which to try your luck and looking for signs such as pug marks and alarm calls.
तो पर ऐसे राउंड मारते चलते हैं ऐसे किनारे किनारे. चेक करते बंद के लिए चेक करके सीधा सेंटर पॉइंट वाले तालाब में चेक करते हैं, फिर ऐसे वो नदी वाली।
Intuition plays a huge role in the first part, but success is a rare outcome, as was to be readily demonstrated when we found the pug marks and sitting marks of a male on a road in the direction of a frequented waterhole.
रोड में बैठा तो गीला था। हाँ, मेरे को लगा जो घास गीली होगी ना, उसी में पूरा गीला हो गया होगा।
Soon as we reached the waterhole in question, Saleem drew our attention to an important detail.
गीला है ना पेड़? पेड़ गीला दिखा रही है। पेड़ गीला है? हाँ, पेड़ गीला है। हाँ।
What Saleem was referring to here is this tree in the midst of the water, which this tiger has a tendency of hugging and rubbing against while in the water, in the process of which the tree tends to get wet. And because this tree was wet right now, it probably meant that we had just missed the tiger. But carrying on from miss to miss without being weighed down by disappointment is key to tracking tigers, which is what we now tried to do. Soon, reaching the Raha, we ran into langur alarm calls, an almost sure sign that there's a large predator nearby.
यहाँ से आई है ऐसे, फिर ऐसे घूम के सांबर चीता सबको दौड़ा है। आगे ले जाओ।
हाँ। हाँ तब ठीक है ना, बताइए।
Langur monkeys, unlike spotted deer, can be relied upon a lot more when they call an alarm. So we clamped down and waited without moving. And eventually our patience was rewarded when the Daraha Bachhi came into view by the water's edge, then sat down in a bamboo grove grooming herself. Briefly thereafter, she walked onto the road perpendicular to the lake and crossed over to the other side, giving us glorious views of herself. Having last seen this female as an adolescent in June 2019, it was delightful to see her now as a breeding adult with cubs of her own. As we reviewed the first ever tiger pictures on Doc's new Nikon Z9, Saleem, ever articulate, summed it up the best.
सफल हुई सफारी।
So this is personally my first safari after 5 years in this park, and after COVID this is my first tiger safari. So quite happy the outcome. I just finished off the breakfast and looking forward for the evening today. It's a very fruitful day today.
Yeah. Good. Good. Very good.
Thanks to the skill of Saleem and the other two men, the langurs and a little bit of luck, we had gone from not having had a permit a few hours before to having had such a good tiger sighting. All was well that ended well, and this was just the beginning as we returned to our nest happy and content that our trip had got off to a terrific start. Tiger 1 had been seen.
क्या तरफ बोल रही?
तो वो पता नहीं क्या फोटो ले रहा है, बाद में देखे बोले यार मेरे इसमें फोटो ही नहीं आया।